What's going on, family? I am Dr. O'Brien, and you are now watching Knockouts Unlimited.
Welcome to Knockouts Unlimited. I'm your host, Joshua Burns.
I'm your host, Dr. O'Brien.
And I'm your guest, Jordan Jones.
And we're here to talk about a couple fights that happened. It's interesting that we have two fighters that were looking to test themselves, and coming out of a loss was Regis Prograis. So we definitely wanted to see what he had to bring to the table. In this Catterall and Regis fight, what was your take on that, Dean?
Man, I thought it was a really good fight. It was tough to watch. I'm a Louisiana boy, so Regis, he from New Orleans, I'm from Shreveport. So whenever I see somebody from Louisiana take an L, it's like, it's tough. But Jack Catterall proved that he is a future world champion at 140. He was very patient throughout the fight. I think at points, Regis got a little bit overzealous, which caused the knockdown in round number 9. Overall, really good fight. Jack definitely going to be a champion at 140.
What did you think about the patience of Catterall when he started the fight? Because he was very patient. I think that set the tone for Regis to start being aggressive and getting reckless. So what did you think about his patience?
I thought it was elite. He was elite. The way he was just popping the jab. Every time he was throwing shots, it seems as if he was landing on Regis, right? Yeah. He was able to pick his shots. His placement was really good. You could just tell that, and it could also be the comfort of him being in Manchester, in his own background. He just had this certain home field advantage in his edge mentally, where he knew that he didn't have to be overly aggressive.
And that's definitely a good point you bring up. Jordan, do you think the hometown, being in Catterall's hometown, Regis going over there played an effect to, or do you think it's because of the previous fight that Regis had when he did not look as well and he wanted to come out and prove?
So I definitely think that it played a major factor being in Catterall's hometown. It definitely plays a lot on a fighter. Having to adjust, hearing the crowd, hearing the roar of everything, so it definitely does take a major toll. And then obviously coming off the loss from Devin, definitely did that for him as well. As a fighter coming from a loss, you've got a lot of things playing in the back of your head that definitely take a major factor. And being in somebody else's hometown, you've got to try to prove yourself. You've got to overcome certain obstacles, and it definitely does play a major role. So I think that there was a lot of things that were working against Regis in this fight. But I mean, so all in all, you got to make the adjustments.
That you do. So let me ask you this: coming off a loss, and you're going into a fight of this magnitude, is this something you would take? Is that a fight that you would take, or would you try to take a different approach coming off a loss?
I personally would have taken a different approach. Obviously, coming off a loss and then going to somebody else's backyard, that's very scary waters.
Yes,
very murky waters.
As well.
For sure. So me personally, I would have taken a different approach. I would have taken some, not necessarily tune-up fights, but something stepping towards that.
Something more along your level, and not giving away a full advantage.
Very true. Okay. Absolutely.
Definitely get that. And what was your take on him going over there in another country and fighting after a loss?
Not only just after a loss, but if I'm not mistaken, that was a year layoff, right? And you already know, man, one of the worst things that a fighter can go through was inactivity. So it was very gutsy. It was very bold. Some people might call it ignorant because of the circumstances. But, man, even though he took it off of a loss, even though he took it off of 1 year of being inactive, he still went there and he fought hard.
See, I call that a fighter's mentality.
Right.
That's a fighter. That's what you're made for. That's what you train to do. You don't go anywhere thinking, oh, I'm going to lose this fight. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't have the advantage. It doesn't matter where you're at. You always think you're the better fighter. You always think every advantage is in your corner. And that's what I saw from Regis. And I big up him for that. I do think that was very mature of him to do that. But then on the flip side, you have to look at that maturity level and like, okay, that was immature for you to take that after a loss and go over to another country and do that. You had a lot to prove. Yes, you did fight. You did show the man behind the sport. You did show that you were willing to take that chance. You're willing to go in there, and you definitely have confidence in yourself. So I definitely big up him for that, and I think he made a good showing of himself. I do think he needs to make a lot of adjustments in his fighting style. I've been seeing Regis fight the same style for a very long time now. He did the same thing as Devin. He didn't make any adjustments. It was the same style. If I was him, if I was in his corner, I would have told him to start using a little more lateral movement and going backwards, fighting as a counter puncher versus going forward, because we saw Jack he wanted to be the counter puncher. He wanted to be the one having Regis come at him. So he wanted to land all the counters. And a lot of times he was landing those counters. But that was after Regis dropped him. After Regis got the knockdown, which wasn't one that, it wasn't a devastating knockdown, but he did get the knockdown scored. But that's when you saw the fight turn. That's when you start seeing Catterall take more of a forefront. More being on the front foot, coming forward a little more, throwing more punches. Because before that, he was just throwing one punch at a time. After that, he started throwing more punches.
Right, and what you see excuse me, but what you see a lot of that in fighters. After Regis got that jabbing knockdown, that A count, you saw that Catterall was able to adjust. He was able to make that change, and he was able to adjust to the fight itself. Regis, whenever he had that knockdown, he wasn't able to adjust to it. And he stayed a consistent fighter with what he knows how to fight. So, again, Jack made that adjustment, and the better man won.
Another point to that too. With Jack,
hold that thought for 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Hold that thought. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's take a break at this moment. The time to pay some bills with our sponsors.
For every action, there is an opposite or equal reaction. So consider well what you do in life. The eyes and ears are the gateway into your mind. So take control of what you allow to enter your mind and guard it well. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So, eliminate negative habits and make positive changes in your life. Concentrate. Take aim and shoot for the stars and never settle for less.
I want to give a shout out to BPMG Sports, man, for keeping updated with me and all this sport active illustration, you know, man. I want to thank everybody, the whole team, you know, they do a great job.
Hey, let me tell you something, BPMG says it like it is. That's what I'm talking about. They don't pull no punches, and that's what boxing needs. All this crap, they don't need. They need somebody like BPMG says it like it is.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Thank you, BPMG Sports. See y'all, Houston, Texas.
So from that 135 to 154 weight class, you definitely have a lot of potential, a lot of dominant fighters there.
It's action packed.
It's
Yeah.
action.
And that's what the fans pay for. That's what we want. That's what we come out for. And so you can see a lot more of that.
Action packed in the form of you seeing a multiple of things.
Of course.
You're not just seeing the power at
Right.
the heavyweight division.
Absolutely.
You're not just seeing the fast hands like the flyweight divisions and strawweight
Right.
divisions like that. And you're not just seeing the slick boxers.
Right.
And so you have everything in one package. That's what's so entertaining about these weight classes. But that's what makes boxing like great. You have all these different things in one form of combative sport,
Absolutely.
and it makes it good.
For sure. Another great point to add on to the great points that you guys just made. 135, 140, the epitome of skills pay the bills. But even more important than that is you have the willingness to want to fight. You starting to see guys really wanting to fight each other, right? You starting to see, I mean, hey, Devin Haney has fought world champion after world champion after world champion. Vasily Lomachenko, right? You starting to see guys come up in this 135, 140 division. You got young guys like Keyshawn Davis. You got Abdullah Mason on the come up. You got guys who are heavily underappreciated and underrated like Kenneth Sams Jr. from Chicago. You got guys like Richardson Hitchens. You know what I mean? You have Liam Paro, Arnold Barboza Jr., Sandor Martin. Man, there's so many that had to write a list.
You have Kid Austin also.
Kid Austin, right? And it's not even to name the big fish, Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez. Like, you have such a deep division, speed, power, skills, paying the bills, placement. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's so many. I think it should be kind of like how they did the Super 6 tournament. Yeah. They should do a tournament style for the 135 up to 140 division.
So, question, and I'll pose this to you first, Jordan. Should there be more tournaments like that in boxing? Do you think there should be more tournaments like this?
Speaking on the pro level, absolutely, absolutely. I think there should. What they did over in Dubai, where they had the was it the Fab Six or whatever it was, that kind of deal. I definitely think there should. I definitely think there should, because it's going to start weeding out. It's going to so there's levels. There's levels to this boxing game, and it's starting to set in place who should be where, who should be fighting what, and a lot of these pro fights that they do have, where they have these catch fights or whatever stuff like, I don't think that should be something that we focus on. I think these tournaments are what are really going to make and break a lot of these careers, as far as the divisions, the IBFs, and all that good stuff that we talk about as far as the divisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tournament style is good. We have to see what comes forth with that and see how they go about marketing that. But at the moment, we have a segment with our co-host, one of our great guys here at the studio, Mr. Eric Jenkins, giving us a recap on Juan Manuel Marquez. Take it away, Eric.
Thanks a lot, guys. Hi, I'm Eric Jenkins, and welcome once again to another episode of Knockouts Rewind. And we're going to be looking at Juan Manuel Marquez, one of the greatest professional boxers to ever lace up his boots and step in the squared circle. We're going to be looking at some of the humble backgrounds, coming from a poor family in the big city, Mexico City, and it was gang infested. He was able to get out of there using professional boxing as a way to escape. He started boxing at the age of 8. Some of the advantages that he had is that he did come from a boxing family where both his father and his brother were professional boxers as well. Some of the regiments that he would do is 25 quail eggs, and he would drink that with orange juice. Also, after some of the training that he would do, he would submerge himself with 100% oxygen, enriching his cells. He was into iridology to find out what was going on in his body, and he would correct those with teas and herbs. He was into naturopathy approaches other than your traditional medical pharmaceutical drugs, and he kept his body in good shape. This guy had the speed, he had the endurance, and he had the power, and he had a very unique fighting style that most people were just not, had never seen and were not ready for. His mentality came from the Aztec warrior. And when he walked into that squared circle using ring psychology, he studied his opponent, and he would see what it would take in order to knock out his opponent, to defeat his opponent, because he was going to come out of there a winner. Because as an Aztec warrior, you could never accept defeat. So when he went in, he had the mentality that he was going to win, and mostly he did. He had an impressive record. Not only did he fight in 3 weight classes and won belts in those 3 weight classes, he had 56 wins, 40 of those by knockout, only 1 draw, and only 7 losses. When he got into the ring, he became one of the greatest counter boxers that you would ever see, counter fighters. And he was able to study his opponent's movements and his opponent's style, and then he would adjust his style to be able to defeat his opponents. He was a great gentleman and a great family man outside of the ring as well. And he will go down in history as one of the greatest professional boxers of all time. And his match with Catterall was one of the greatest professional boxing matches and rivalries that the business has ever seen. This has been Eric Jenkins with Knockouts Rewind. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Eric. It's always a pleasure hearing you talk about your stories and hearing the things that you said about Juan Manuel Marquez. Very interesting. Very great to give that guy his kudos. Now, on to you. And since I posed a question to Jordan, what is your take on the Super 6 style boxing tournament?
Man, I think it's what the sport needs, and not only for the 135 to 140 division, but really for every single division in the sport of boxing. Quite frankly, boxing should go back to the one belt system, right? I believe there are way too many belts out there. There are way too many world champions, and when you look at other sports, specifically, let's stick with MMA. Let's stick with the UFC. They have, in each weight class, they have one champion, and that weeds out the ones who are not champion. Simply put, the best are fighting the best no matter what. And also you see how it's okay for a fighter to have an L on their record and still be able to come back hard the next fight. I feel like it's going to develop more of a camaraderie between the sports of boxing and also the fighters too.
Now, that's always a pro and a con when you do things one way like that. Now, I can see the one belt or I can see the multiple belts. I'm on board on either side. I don't care, because the multiple belts allow people that you don't hear of that won't get a chance to get a belt, but they can get a belt, and now they have a name. Now they have people looking at them. Now they can get the opportunity that they deserve, and that's all. That's what I think the multiple belts do. But this time, let's talk about one of our women, our Dallas women that gained a championship, world title, being the first female boxer in Dallas. Do it, Shurretta Metcalf. She goes by Chicken, and she went out there and did her thing, proved her point, proved that she belonged in boxing at the young age of 39. The young age of 39. This lady is the epitome of what it takes to go into a boxing ring and accomplish your goals by never giving up on your dream and always pursuing, no matter what people say, no matter what the naysayers say or people say you cannot do something. She went ahead and showed them what she can do, and the influence that she's going to have amongst younger women coming up today, I think that is elite. So you guys have anything to say about that? You know, she's a staple within the DFW area now.
Oh, absolutely. For the Triple D, let me tell you something about Shurretta Metcalf. Chicken, if you're listening, first of all, congratulations, baby. I'm so proud of you. I had the pleasure and the opportunity of helping train her with this past season with TCL, Team Dallas. And let me tell you something, man. She is a professional. She's going to always be herself. She's going to always come to work hard. She's going to always give it 110%. And that's exactly what she did in the fight against Yoshimo. And beating her a second time, proving why she belongs in this sport. And not only doing it, but doing it at the young age of 39, starting a boxing career late, continuing to follow her passion and her dreams, and doing what many people said that she couldn't do. Much appreciation to you. Very proud of you. Thank you for putting on for the city.
Yes, and that will conclude our show of Knockouts Unlimited. I'm your host, Joshua Burns.
Your host, D.R. O'Brien.
And your guest, Jordan Jones.
And it's been a pleasure tuning in with you guys. Until next time.
This episode of Knockouts Unlimited was brought to you by the Blue Planet Media Group.